Hey guys, I have a returning visitor today, and we just happened to be chatting a few weeks ago, and he was telling me about his 100K podcast plan, and I'm like, that's good stuff. I need to have you on the show again. I know it's so much gold, and of course, Chris Hines is a monetization expert and the host of Pod Central, and so I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm kind of excited to share this plan because I think one of my favorite things about Gary Vee is how he has so much content of him from like years ago saying one thing and
Yeah.
then it's happening now. That's kind of my goal with this is to kind of show people, hey, look, this is the plan. And then in like 6 months, I can say, look, here's the result from that plan. That's
Yeah.
that's the goal here. I'll be honest and say I want to gloat a little bit. I'm being honest.
Hey, you can gloat because like being an entrepreneur is so much hard work. Being a podcaster is so much hard work. So when you find a formula and a plan that works to monetize the podcast in a big way, and you're proving it by doing it, so to speak, that's killer. So let's kind of like set up the framework here. I love that your goal is to like change the market and the industry and helping 1,000 podcasters start making $1,000 a month, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah, and I said that number. I got this question a lot because there was a time in the past couple of years where for some reason the number that all coaches, gurus, and people threw out there was $10,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't like the feeling of telling somebody that has been creating content, been doing what they do for months or even years, and they've never really made money from it. But all of a sudden, when you work with me, it's going to be perfect and you're going to make more than enough money,
I
more money
know.
than literally 90% of Americans. You'll be able to quit your job and all. Like, I don't want to sell people a dream, right? That's just not reality. So for
I
me,
agree.
I know that getting to that $1,000 a month mark, it's just honestly, it's more realistic. And the truth is, that's the starting point.
Yeah.
Because if I say you're going to get to 10K, then if you work with me, you can get to 5,000. You'll be like, man, I didn't get to 10K. This program was
Mm,
terrible. But if I help you get to 1,000, it's like, well, yeah, I got to 1,000. That's great, right? So I think that the for me, I want to avoid that gap of like the disappointment of letting people
yeah.
down because you just came at them with just something that just is false. Like it's just unrealistic.
Honestly, seriously. And I like, I know for me, I would rather work with people that they're real, they're honest, they're like, here's, calling a spade, than someone that is, yeah, all the hype and
Just selling
the
the dream.
bravado. Not into that. And honestly, it's like $1,000 a month is attainable, and that covers a lot of costs in your podcast production, or if you're outsourcing a lot of those pieces. And if you are consistently making $1,000 a month, there is no reason why you can't put fire and fuel under that and blow it up to ramp it up and get to that 10,000 mark. But you need that foundation to begin with, and those systems and those strategies working. So let's get into the meat. What is the 100 or K podcast plan?
So it's essentially a process where you create different types of products that align with your show. And I really have two lanes here. So you have
Okay.
the entertainment side and the business side. Entertainment falls in, shows that are like music, movies, true crime, all of that stuff that's clearly entertainment, comedy, podcasts, all of that stuff goes on that side. Business is where you probably sell a product or a service already. You have some kind of brand, maybe even your personal brand. You want to sell digital products and all of that stuff. So just that right there is the foundation setter, right? Like
Okay.
let's separate the podcast types right there. I know there are a ton of different categories. I
Hmm.
know. But when it comes to monetization, there are really only two paths you can take,
Okay.
right? So entertainment and business, those two are the very distinct differences. And even when people sign up to a mailing list, the first email I send them is like, hey, let's categorize you right now. Which one are you? And if you say you're neither, you probably don't know what you are because you got to
Good
go on
point.
one of these sides. I'll just be honest with you.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And so are you saying that whether you're entertainment or more business oriented, there are just two different roadmaps or two different paths to take. There's just slightly different nuances.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're a business podcaster, for example, if you just wanted to build a show around your personal brand and your expertise, that's great. You can sell digital products, build a community, and then do consulting. With those three products right there, you really can build a podcast that's making amazing revenue, right? Like you can set that up and build something special. Now, on the entertainment side, I wouldn't tell somebody who has a comedy podcast to sell a digital product. That just doesn't make
that'd
sense.
be weird.
Like if you have a true crime show, you shouldn't be trying to sell consulting services. Like what the hell are you going to sell? Right? So on the entertainment side, you focus on things like affiliate marketing, community building, sponsorships, and when you get to a certain level, merchandise. So on both sides, there are different types of products you should create, and there are different milestones you should be attempting to reach.
When you put it that way, that makes total sense. Now, I know just in knowing you and talking to you that you have 5 income streams that podcasters can choose from, which is funny because people naturally think podcast monetization means ads and sponsorship.
Yeah. And it's funny because that's like the last one.
Yeah,
I tell people that it's the hardest one. Like out of all the ways you can make money from your show, that is the hardest. As somebody that's done it, it is the most challenging. And the other 4 are affiliate marketing, digital products, community building, and consulting. I can tell you that those 4 are way easier than sponsorship because to get sponsored, you need leverage, meaning you need a bigger audience, you need bigger guests, you need a bigger community, you need a kind of a machine behind you to go to other companies and say, hey, look, this is what I have. And they're going to pay you for that attention. And most podcasts, 90% don't have that level of leverage. So you should focus on these other income streams and completely ignore sponsorships. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but I'm telling you, chasing sponsorships will frustrate you and leave you at $0, honestly.
And you're going to feel like you're not good enough. And you're just going to probably pack in the podcast thinking it's not working. It's like you're just like tunnel visioned, right?
And that happened to me at a certain point when I was trying to work one of my shows and get this thing going. I focused on sponsors for so long. You realize it's just a waste of time. You're going in circles and getting nowhere. It's just a waste of time when you could. And I'm not saying that you go and launch this product and you make $10,000 in the first month. Again, I'm not telling you that. But if we put together a digital product and you sell it for $50, when you sell 20 of those, that's $1,000.
Yeah.
That's simple, right? So if you have 50 listeners on your show, you'll need every single person to buy from you to make $1,000.
No.
You need less than half of that audience. And then if you focus on getting a listener a day, instead of trying to chase that sponsor, I guarantee you can get to $1,000 faster that way than waiting for some sponsor to email you back or close some kind of deal.
Yeah, truth. So when you're talking to new potential clients and like you have this formula and these 5 steps, is there anything like what do you need to start besides having a podcast? Like, is there
I love
you
that
need
question.
these 5 things before you can even start this process?
I love that question because now we're getting into what really matters. I always tell people, whether you're on entertainment or business, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The thing you need the most is a true connection to the show. Because when you get into the trenches and you're building that show and you're building the audience and you're creating the products, like part of it is going out there to connect with people that you want to listen to your show.
Yeah.
Part of it is going to certain events and going to be a part of certain communities, because that's what's going to help you grow your show and bring in revenue. And if you don't have a connection to the show that you're creating, you will not be successful. Like I'm launching a new show right now called Founders Success Methods, where I'm getting into the startup world. My strategy is to do 3 episodes a week. One founder spotlight interview, a solo episode where I'm doing startup definitions, and then a roundtable episode. There's no way I could put in all of that work and all that energy into that show if I didn't have just a burning desire inside of me to learn more and meet more people. So I would say, I hate to say it, but the passion, it has to be number one.
Yeah, agreed. You have to love what you have to love doing it.
You have to. I think that's the reason why most podcasts fail, because people start wanting to make money. And I don't think that's a problem. Most people say that. I disagree. I think wanting to make money from your show isn't a bad thing. YouTubers start channels all the time because they want to make money. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, the problem is when you don't have that connection to it, because then once it gets hard, you quit. So to avoid that, you got to have a commitment to it.
And do you need like a specific business model behind you, or like affiliate set up already, like from a technical standpoint?
No, you actually don't. I think if you have, all you need to have is a clear direction of what you want your show to be.
Yeah.
That connection to it, and then have a vision for what you want your show to be. Like for me, I've lost count how many shows, over 50 shows at this point. I've been doing this for 8 years. When I launched Founder Success Methods, I literally just got a new planner. Like, I have a whole new planner for it, just for the show, right? I literally asked myself certain questions whenever I launch a new show. What is success for this podcast? What's the income amount that I want? Like, how much money do I want to make from the show every single month? What kind of guests do I have on here? I call it my golden 10, like the top 10 people I can have on this show specifically. Who are those people? And when you answer all those questions, you kind of put together a vision for the podcast. That's when it really creates a life of its own, and it starts to take off. Like, and you know what's so funny about this show? I literally wrote down my golden 10, and I started reaching out to people, and I have not been told no yet. Every single person has said yes. So it's like, that's even more confirmation that you're going in the right direction. So you don't need a ton of things to get to the monetization part. Because now my next step is to take these high level guests that I have and go and pitch the show to companies and sell it like I've done before. Like, hey, these are the guests I have on the show. I'm doing this on YouTube. I'm doing this on Twitter. I'm doing this on LinkedIn. So in 6 months, we're going to have 1 million downloads. So if you want to be a part of this, you can sponsor the show for the first 6 months. All right. So I think that having that vision is more important than any of the other crazy qualifications you've heard. Like, you don't need all of that stuff.
That's good to know. Now, going through the 5 different income streams, the one that piques my interest the most is affiliate, because it feels like it's just so doable. So can you just kind of elaborate on that a little bit more? Because I feel like podcasters don't take advantage of this as much as they could.
I agree. I think it's the lowest hanging fruit. It's the easiest because, again, I like to do this with really small numbers, because I know this is where most podcasters are. If you're a podcaster and you only have 48 people listening to you a week for the last month, right? If you start promoting, what I always tell people is get 5 brands that you love, that you know your audience loves. Get 5 of those brands and list them out. And become an affiliate those 5 companies. Don't worry about how much they're paying you. Do not focus on that. You're going to make money. The point in when you're becoming an affiliate is to become a thought leader, because I look at affiliate marketing for podcasters as the segue to sponsorship. This is a stepping stone to getting sponsored.
True.
When you have those 5 companies, now you have a company you should be promoting on every single episode. That means every episode that you put out is profitable. Every single episode, whether you're making $5 in commission or 50, you're getting paid. I think that's what podcasters focus on too much, and why they skip over being an affiliate, because it's like, oh man, I'm only going to make $5 from that. That's nothing. My first episode I got paid for, I made like $15. It's not a lot, but that was the foundation. Right? That's where it starts. And then that leads to all the other stuff. So early on, don't focus on trying to make the most money. Be an affiliate for 5 brands. You can promote them nonstop. And then I think in I would say 3 months, you become a thought leader, because you're always promoting. I have episode of Pod Central I just did about the top 3 podcast AI tools. And people loved it. I wrote a newsletter about it and it got like 7,000 views. I don't have 7,000 subscribers. That's because people loved it and they shared it. That helps me become more of a thought leader. Now I post a video on YouTube, it gets me more views, and then that builds your brand up. So now those AI companies I promoted, one of them already DM me on Twitter and is like, hey, we love what you did. We appreciate that. We want to work with you long term and, you know, be a partner. That's what happens when you stop
Opportunities.
focusing on the money. It just it creates itself.
So true. People always want to know about tools and like automations or whatever to like make their lives easier. So, and if you're using them and you can endorse them, then why not?
See, look, I don't know if y'all caught that, but Lindsay just gave you a tip. If you think, oh man, I don't know what I could be an affiliate for, think about the tools people use in your industry. That's it.
Yeah.
Like if I went back to basketball, I would promote certain companies that sold athletic wear, that sold gear, that sold the different tools you need, all of that stuff, even apps, all of that. It's that easy. It's so easy, such low-hanging fruit for us as podcasters.
Now, what is the right way then of promoting the thing that you're an affiliate of in your episode? Because there are different ways of skinning a cat, so to speak, and right ways and wrong ways.
Oh man, it's so many. You can record, it really is. You can record an ad. I don't think that's a bad idea to record an ad and act like this is a sponsor of your show already.
Yeah.
Because again, if this is a high level top tier company, you promote them in that way, your audience thinks, wow, they already got sponsored. This is really high quality podcast. You kind of get that elite by association, right? Like if you promote an elite brand on your show, people now think you have an elite show, even if you just started. Like when I launched Founder Success Methods, I'm going to have 3 companies I'm promoting. Now you can do it with an ad. You can do it with a live read where you just talk about it for like 3 to 5 minutes. You can also create series, literally create a series of, and this is what I'm doing with Podcast AI tools. Here are the top tools for podcasters to use to condense their workflow and make production a lot easier. Then you break all 5 of those down, and then you can do individual episodes on each one you talked about in that episode. Because again, you'll have some people that listen to that one first and they're like, wow, you got to think. I think about this now from like the YouTube perspective, where when you watch one video and it's suggested on the side, they have other videos that are like it. That's what your podcast can be.
Yeah.
So people listen to the first one, they're like, oh man, that tool sounds great. And then when they see in the show notes or on the blog that you made a full episode about, it's like, wow, I got to check that out. That's what podcasters should be doing. Because then again, every time you put out an episode, you can now make money from that. And I still get paid from some companies I promoted years ago, literally 2 or 3 years ago. I still make money from that. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. That's true passive income.
Right? That's the only passive income that exists.
Yeah. And so when you're doing those promo reels, ads, whatever you want to call them, like, do you put them in the middle or leave them to the end? And I know, like, I personally hate when I hear an ad right up front at the beginning of the intro, because I'm like, come on, dude, I haven't even listened to anything yet.
So I do it in the beginning, but only if I can finesse it, right? Okay. So, and what that means is I'll do like more of a live read where it's like, so just to let you guys know, this podcast is brought to you by
that's
blank. Easy. Something like that. Right? Like if I'm talking about one of the podcast AI tools, hey, this podcast AI tool really helped me produce this episode, and I think it will help you a lot. You can get your free month in the link down in the description box down below. Tell them Pod Central sent you. Something that short, that's like 15 seconds.
Short and sweet.
That is the best way to promote in the beginning, because then people are like, wow, I'm already getting value from this episode. You're already telling me how I can do something easier. I can save time or make money or whatever it is. In the middle is where you can put more of the traditional ads. I try to stay away from those if I can, because I always wanted to be organic. The more organic, the more conversions I see personally.
Yeah, that's so true. And I really like what you said there, in that you're giving the people value. So I think a lot of podcasters, and me included, I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm selling, you know what I mean? But it, like, even just how you quickly spun that off of your head real quick, you're giving someone a tool that's going to help them and you're giving them value. So I think even just changing your mindset slightly makes a huge difference.
Yes, yes. And change your mindset from the selling is sleazy and
Yeah.
look at it as selling is a service. Because if I'm a podcaster and you're a podcaster and it takes you, let's say, 4 hours to produce an episode from beginning to end, and it takes me an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
If I tell you about a tool that, yeah, you got to pay $30 a month to use a tool, but if it's going to save you 2.5 hours, wouldn't it be worth it to you? And that's
Yeah.
just a week. Monthly
Yeah.
is going to save you pretty much 10 hours, right? Over 10 hours. Now you see me as more helpful because I'm providing you with something that's going to make your life easier.
Yeah.
So I think you shouldn't feel bad about selling because we should only be selling as a service. I'm selling to serve you.
Yeah.
And as far as a little ad right there, I think that's something that people should practice. Like literally sit down and practice doing promotions because you make it sound more natural and you sound more professional. And it's one of the things I get complimented on the most, like all the time from guests on my show, that I
Mm-hmm.
can talk about certain products or services and it doesn't sound like an ad
Yeah.
until you hear me mention the company. You're like, wow, that was a commercial. And it's like that's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
skill that is worth its weight. I'm telling you, it's worth a lot of money.
I bet. Yeah. Cause I've heard some where it just feels like a disconnect and some where like you don't even know what's happening. They're just, it's part of the conversation.
Yeah, and it's so much more natural that way. And companies, when you go to pitch them to be a sponsor for your show,
Mm-hmm.
they will go and listen to your
Yeah.
show. So if you've done this before and they see it's natural and you have the skill and you're good at it, again, they're paying attention to it. It's one of those small things that somebody that's never gotten sponsored couldn't tell you this because they just don't know what that part is. But
Right.
like there are some people who do it, it's called air checks. And when they do an air check, it could be for another ad that's not even their company, but they want to see how you perform as a podcaster. And these are the skills that we as podcasters have to really hone in on if we want to join that 5% of podcasters that's actually making money.
Yeah. That's a valid point. Now we've covered affiliate marketing. So I know you've talked, one of them is like digital products. And again, especially a lot of entrepreneurs have those tripwires or courses, on demand courses, whatever. So would you almost treat that as the same, that you would do like an ad read or mention, or this show is brought to you by this course?
I wouldn't. And actually, digital products isn't the second one I advise. Like, I think there's some products that every podcaster can have. Affiliate marketing is number one.
Yeah.
I think it's the easiest to set up, easiest to execute. Community is number two. Because
Okay.
whether you have a business podcast or an entertainment show, you can build a community around that. It's one of the things I wish I had taken more serious early on because I had built a really good community, but I always do stuff and then tear it down. And I would build up my mailing list and tear it down. Like I've always been that person that's really impulsive in that way. It's a habit I had to break. But community is so valuable. It's so valuable. And it's not as difficult as we try to make it. So when you're building community, there are really two ways to build community. You got to figure out whether people are there for connections or outcomes.
Mm,
Connections or outcomes. So if I'm in the entertainment space, I'm probably in a community for connections. If I love Marvel movies, I want to be in a space where people love Marvel movies like me. We talk about the movies, we give our thoughts and opinions, we criticize them and all of that stuff. We argue about which one is better than the other. I build relationships. In a
right.
business space, people are paying to access a community because they want to learn something. They want a
Right.
specific outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have that in mind, that makes it easier because sometimes people think, oh, community, I got to post this much content. I got to do this. Not
Right.
necessarily. Your community could be you set up a space where you guys listen to music. And when new albums come out, you just get together on Zoom and listen to them on its release date. Like that could be part of your community. You just do that three
True.
times a month. And then you talk about history of music and stuff. And people pay $8 a month for that. I know a lot of people that would pay for that. On the business side, you may have a community where you may be let's say like what's a good example that's relatable right now? In the crypto space, right? Let's say you're one of the few people in crypto that's not scamming people, right? And you build a community around how other people can build their own crypto projects, and you guys talk about the trending
Mhm.
crypto news and all of that stuff, and you really build a space where you're not trying to just take people's money, where you're teaching them something and giving them an
Yeah.
outcome. That's where community becomes easier. And again, a different path for entertainment. I would advise focusing on connections and
Yeah.
people that have the same interest. And then for business, let's focus on outcomes and giving them a specific destination that they can look forward to, something they can look forward to learning, a transformation, if you will.
Yeah.
That's how you really separate the community.
That makes sense. Now, to me, in my head, when I think community, I naturally think Facebook groups.
Mm.
Is that kind of like what you're talking about, or do you have other like avenues or different paths?
I have a love-hate thing with Facebook groups.
Yeah,
I think
same.
Facebook groups are a good launching pad to building your own space. I
Right.
would advise you to set up your own space just because it's more profitable.
Yeah.
Just to be honest, like I'm not putting
Agreed.
effort, energy, whether I'm building a community for connections or I'm giving people an outcome. I'm not doing all of that for free because when you take the free route, you get a lot of low quality people. That's just the truth. You get a lot of
Yeah.
people that are there with the wrong intentions. Like if I set up a free, my community right now is $1 million podcasting. And inside of that community, I put different downloads, master classes, I do weekly coaching, all of that stuff. If I were to set that up in a Facebook group for free, all I would attract is those people that jump into Facebook groups and post their show so everybody can listen to it.
Yeah, no.
The people that just spam the group with their content that will go live in the group. Like we want to see that. Like
Yeah.
and
You want people that are engaged and care.
and exactly, so you will get less people because you're
Yeah.
charging, but those are going to be more high quality people.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, and look at Pod Pros and Podmatch and their community, or even Pantheon and like their community. There's like, yeah, other communities that are not Facebook groups. And yeah, whether it's connection or you're looking for information or support, yeah, they're valuable for sure. And making money on those can be a challenge, but I think I
Yeah.
feel like it's if you are a leader in your space and they're looking at you as like the go-to expert, then they're going to, you know, see
Yeah.
your product, see your services.
And it might take time. You know, it
Yeah.
might take time to get it there. You may have three people like in my group coaching sessions. I've had sometimes where it's 15 people. I've had other times where it's three.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I don't care regardless. I'm going to show up.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the
True, true.
live. And if you post questions in the community, I'll answer them there. Like if not, I have my whole bullet points I'm going breaking down. Like I think when it comes to community, you have to get over trying to get the biggest numbers and make the most money the fastest
Agreed.
because it's a long-term game. It's a long game. Like I built $1 million podcasting in January of 2023. I don't expect it to be super profitable until 2024. Like I'm not looking at it like it's gonna make me $10,000 a month
Yeah, yeah.
in this year. Like I know for the first like 12 months, it's probably just gonna be floaters, and I'm gonna get some people that are really core members and stuff, but I don't expect this massive result from that. I think that's what forces people to quit a
Yeah.
lot, is they expect my podcast should have this many downloads this early, and then it doesn't. They're like, oh man, I quit. Like,
I
no,
know.
just stick with it. And
Expectations
so
is huge, and goals, and
yeah,
yeah.
it'll pay off, man. I promise you it'll pay off.
Yeah. Well, and obviously going by your system will help kind of bring those results. So before we go, I want to make sure people understand your program and with your podcast plan and how they can get started and how it's structured.
So I'm starting this off because my goal is to help 1,000 podcasters make $1,000 a month. I want to give you a system to make $1,000 a month from your show, no matter the size of your audience. So how this starts off is we get on a call. I call this a podcaster income stream session, right? The podcast money session. I want to make sure that number one, you're a good fit for this program,
Yeah.
because if you're the person that posts one episode a month, this just probably isn't for you. But if you've been at this and you really focus, you have your mission, you know exactly what you want out of podcasting, then that's great. On our call, we're going to break down exactly the perfect path for your income streams. It could be affiliate marketing and then community and sponsorship. It could be digital product and then consulting, right? It really depends on your show and your skill level as well. Like I'm not one of the person that's gonna tell you to set up a consulting program and you don't have anything to consult on. That's just stupid.
Yeah.
Right?
It has to make sense.
Yeah, so that's why I have these calls, because it's like I love actually helping people break down. These are the paths that you can take to profitability. Here's step 1, step 2, step 3. And then after that, if you sign up and you want to work together, you want to join, you can join the program and then you get access to that community I mentioned, $1 Million Podcasting. And inside of there, like I said, you get the weekly workshops, the masterclass content, the downloads. And then when you sign up for the program, you also get access to 3 of the courses. And these are not regular courses. I've put about 8 years of work into this. Like my workbooks are massive. Like I've taken my templates, like my literal emails and screenshots that I used to get sponsored from 2016, 2017 are in these courses. All the scripts I've used to get high level guests are in there as well. The emails I use to go from being an affiliate to a sponsor are in this program as well. Like everything that I have in podcasting, I put into this program because again, my goal is to change the industry. It's frustrating talking to podcasters, and I just know most of them don't make any money. Like I know that 95% don't make anything. And because I have had the privilege and I've been blessed to be profitable in this industry, I think I know more people can get there.
Yeah.
They just need the actual roadmap. So that's the goal here.
Yeah. I love it. And I know you're launching the podcast, and when does that go live? And I'd love to share that.
Oh man, founder success methods. And the purpose of this show is to help more people understand the startup world. I'm not an expert in startups. I've only been in the industry for like a year. So I'm learning myself. So this podcast is my way of learning and building and connecting with other founders and venture capitalists, angel investors, and bringing all the knowledge into one place, making it searchable, making it easier to find and easier to understand. So this show will be launching on April 8th. We'll be doing 3 episodes a week. We got founder spotlights. I'll be talking to people that have sold their companies or that make at least $1 million a year from their startup. I'm doing solo content on startup definitions where I'll cover a key definition for an episode and then break down 3 to 5 examples for that definition. And then we'll have roundtable episodes as well, bringing in a lot of founders, VCs, angel investors to talk about different topics and different trends in the startup world. So this is a podcast that's really for the people that want to start their own company eventually. Like this is going to be the thing that helps you set that foundation and learn and connect with the right people and really grow in the startup world.
Where do you have time for all this, Chris? You got an extra person behind you that I don't know about?
All right. You know, it's funny. I'm working on building my podcast studio too. Like that's another thing that I'm excited for that. Cause I really want to do the more in-person interviews. Cause every time I get to do it, it's just so fun.
I bet.
I love it. So I don't look at it as work, you know, it's just, it's fun to me. So like, I feel lucky because I love what I do. I get paid to do it. And like, I'm getting better at it. Like I'm finally getting traction on YouTube now. After like 5 years and like 200 videos, I'm now getting traction where like it's all coming together right now. You know, it's all working.
Don't you love that?
It's fun. So I'm probably going to work even more, but it's a good thing. I see it as a win, you know?
Yeah. Good for you. No, you're always busy and doing and improving yourself and learning new things and sharing your wisdom. I absolutely adore what you do. So I'm so glad you're on the show. Now, where can people go to get their income stream sessions?
So you can book the call. Again, this is completely free. I'm not charging you a dime. A lot of people have told me I should, but I probably won't because I just love doing this part.
So
go
I'm
to
like
Chris
that with my
Podcasting. Right? It's the same thing. So you can go to chrispodcasting.com or hit me up on Instagram or Twitter at Chris Podcasting. Literally just send me a DM. We can have a conversation. I'm not hard to find.
Yeah, Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much for coming back. And I love that you're helping more people monetize their podcast. And can't wait to hear your new one coming out.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Ciao, guys.